Hello, my friends. Welcome to me, your host, Christian Watson. So, a lot of people, the mainstream press has not been covering en masse something that is very important that is about to happen insofar as it regards to Republican GOP electoral strategy. Now, I understand why the media is not covering it, simply because the media right now is enamored with clicks and hits and other sort of the spoils of our digital, social media-driven political discourse. So that's what they're worried about. They're worried about Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, the story of a British noble who underestimated the extent of her duties and now is coming over to Oprah and crying. That's what their affection is going towards. But if we're going to be pensive on this platform here, and unfortunately, fortunately, perhaps, I think what is happening with the GOP and what is going to be happening as they continue to try to win back seats in 2024 and 2022 is much more consequential to the American experiment than anything that Meghan Markle has gone through. So, that's just my side note on that. I've been very annoyed about that news. But anyway, so, as his Axios report said, which was put out about 10 days ago, he said that this is the GOP's plan to retake the House. This is a memo from Kevin McCarthy, who is now the minority leader, was the majority leader for quite a bit of time when the Republicans had control over the House, when Paul Ryan's speakership was there. And this memo has a lot of different things in it, but candidate recruitment is what I really want to focus on here. McCarthy says, in 2020, all 15 of the seats Republicans flipped were won by a woman, a minority, or a veteran. Constant writes. Constant's the person doing the memo that was sent out by McCarthy. Continuing to recruit similar candidates is a foundational building block to the majority in 2022. So what are they saying? Essentially, they're saying that Republicans will benefit by putting out more women candidates, by putting out more minority candidates, and putting out more veteran candidates. Essentially, they want to forward candidates from a certain special status class that they think will be good to continue to expand the party's diversity and build on what the party is trying to do. They also mention here how they want to go focus on wedge issues which tend to affect minority people, such as fracking, pipeline cancellations, school closures, all of which affect the Native American tribes people, affect many of the African American communities in urban cities. So what you see here, you see a sort of desire to peddle certain things to win the affections of a certain group without actually examining if those certain things will appeal to the individuals in that group. So this is the main problem with identity politics, my friends. Identity politics presupposes a value. It presupposes in a certain condition to people based on nothing more than what they look like and not the actual contents of their heart. The human experience and the human being are far more complex than what can be reduced to a political formula. Any thinking person knows this. And guess what? But the way our political system is set up, my friends, it allows identity politics to flourish. How? Let me tell you how. Voters are grouped by demographics, and therefore political operatives are inspired and encouraged to address or go about political issues by demographics. So, for example, there has been a conversation in the GOP, because I'm involved in some Republican circles, there's been a ubiquitous conversation, ubiquitous meaning a very wide and extensive conversation, about attracting more black voters. And the question is always phrased, the conversation is always phrased, how can we attract more black voters? What can we do to attract more black voters? Or how can we win the black vote? Now, we can't blame political operatives for thinking like this when they are basically given a system. There is a model in front of them, and that model influences the entirety of their careers. So I can't blame them for thinking like this, but I can. I can because they are not questioning the statistical demographic understanding of black individuals in America. They are sort of believing and accepting this statistical self without actually going in and investigating if the statistical self is actually something that we need to look at in the first place. So, do individuals matter as a voting bloc, or do they matter as individuals in the personal capacity? There's a reason that they were surprised when Hispanics swung big for Trump in the last election. There's a reason. Because Hispanics were always estimated to be a reliable Democratic voting bloc. They swing, we're like, what happened? I'm not like, what happened? I'm like, wow, people can change their minds. So when you see politics as a matter of demography and not a matter of individual life and principles, you will always miss the truth of political interaction. And the political interaction, my friends, is not about winning or appeasing to certain groups. It's not about going up to New York City, to Brooklyn, and eating matzah. It's not about going down to Chinatown and dining at a noodle bar. It's not about going to a German section of a town and talking in German. It's not about appeasing to any sort of identity. It is about understanding people at their core root and putting up a structure, putting up a system to protect their individual rights. That should be the core of all political considerations. But unfortunately, we are so bound up in this false deity, this false idol of political appeasement, which has germinated and has propagated itself throughout American society with the expansion of the government, with the expansion of the welfare state, with the overspending by both parties, with the militarism committed by both parties. This is the affliction, the curse that is on American politics. So my friends, we have to break the curse. We have to break the curse. Identity politics is just a part of it, my friends, but there is a structure which fuels these mentalities. There is a structure, a sophisticated sociological and political structure that is found in the demographic understanding of voters. There is a structure in that allows these things to happen. We must contest the structure, my friends. We must beat the structure. So what am I saying? What I'm saying is this. The GOP is making a huge mistake by going this identity politics route, not just because it goes against the GOP's core values to people as individuals, supposedly, but because it primarily fuels the structures around our political system, which allow it to get further and further from its original aims. This political system was established to protect and preserve our rights. Those are its original aims. It has gotten so warped and it has deviated so much from that. And now we are continuing to and the party of a small government, the party supposedly that is trying to restore those functions, is going to help it deviate even more. I think not. The GOP has to oppose this identity politics push and understand that a government that is in its proper role, a government that is small, a government that is restricted, is a government that will care nothing about your demographics and everything about your ability to pursue your life as freely and prosperously as you can make it. Think on it. As always, my friends, I love you, and please stay pensive.